Previously, we said that the best way to turn things around from a bad choice is to be quick to make the right choice. We focused on the story known as the prodigal son, though Jesus has never said this phrase, prodigal son, but when he shared the parable known as the parable of the prodigal son, the Holy Text says that this parable was a parable about two sons, not only about one, the prodigal one, but two brothers, one known as the prodigal son and another known as the older brother. So we understand that in the moment that the prodigal son realized that he had made a terrible decision to have left his house, to have left the house of his father and wasted all the inheritance from his father, but finally he recognized his mistake. He returned to the house of his father. He was humble and he was received with mercy and compassion. We understood this. Now we are going to focus on the brother of the prodigal son, his older brother, how he dealt with all this. We can imagine that when the younger son, the prodigal one, left the house, the older one might have thought, "You are disappointing our father. You are killing our father in your heart. You don't do this to ask for the inheritance before he dying." So he might have been very upset with his brother, but still, his younger brother left. And he remained there. So within himself, he had the awareness that he did what was right. The older brother remained in the house, remained serving his father, didn't ask for his inheritance in advance. He did everything correct. And many years have passed, and when his younger brother returned home, having wasted all, and he saw how his father treated him, there, the older brother of the prodigal son was tested. That young man, good one, up until that moment, a good son, faithful to his father, up until that moment, but he showed a side that no one had seen before. Let's see what the Holy Text says from verse 25. In the chapter 15 of Luke, it says that as soon as the prodigal son returned home, he threw a party, and it says that the older son was in the field. And as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, "Your brother has come, and because he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf." But he was angry and would not go in. Which means, instead of rejoicing with his father for having his son returning safe and sound, in spite of all that happened, but the older brother became indignant and he was not ready to receive the inheritance from his father, because traditionally the elder son would replace the father when the father died. And this older brother was not ready to replace the father, just as the younger was not ready to receive the inheritance, and when he received it, he wasted it. The elder also showed that he was not ready to receive the inheritance and replace his father because he didn't know how to use mercy. A father, a leader, someone who takes care of people must know three things. We need to know, as Jesus said, we need to know how to apply justice, mercy, and faith. Three things we must know. Wisdom is in knowing when I should execute justice, when should I be balanced and exercise mercy, which is the other side of the scale of justice, mercy, and when I need to exercise faith, which is to believe in people, believe in a future positive result. God's wisdom helps us to balance this tripod, to live on top of this tripod in a balanced way. The elder son, the older brother of the prodigal son, showed through his reaction that he was not ready to assume the place of the father. So he became indignant and he didn't want to go in. Therefore, his father came out, which means once again the father showing compassion, understanding, mercy. He went there, being humble in that situation. The father who represents God, he was at all times humble when the younger asked for the inheritance he gave, and now when the older didn't want to go in. He left the house, he went out there to meet the older son and pleaded with him. He was pleading with him to go in. So he answered and said to his father, "Lo, these many years I have been serving you. I never transgressed your commandment at any time, and yet you never gave me a young goat that I might make merry with my friends." See what the older brother held inside him. He expected from the father what? For all the years of faithfulness that he showed through his service, he expected from the father recognition. Recognition. And he was just doing what was asked of him. Am I right? Only what was required. Because the child owns the father respect, honor, but he wanted to be rewarded for it. But as soon as this son of yours came, we can practically hear the bitterness, the grudge, the hurt in the words of the older brother. But as soon as this son of yours came, he didn't say my brother. This son of yours. In other words, in one sentence, he managed to insult the father and the brother. In one sentence. This is rare. This is rare. But he managed to do it in few words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words he managed to insult two people. This is strong. But as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him. And he said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours." Which means the older son was fighting the father because of a calf, and he forgot that he was the owner of all the cattle. This is how a hurt, grudgeful person reacts. They forget the general view of things, and they only focus on one tiny point in a room. They focus on that tiny point, that dot on a board, and they are bothered with that dot. They badmouth the entire board because of that dot, the tiny point, and they forget the bigger picture of the board. This is what the older brother did. He judged the father for not killing a calf for him and to be happy with his friends, and he forgot that he was owner and now the only heir, because the brother had already received his part. He was the only heir, the owner of all, but he was fighting the father because of a calf. People don't realize how they curse themselves for holding a grudge. They don't notice it. Grudge has a power to blind people. They become blind they don't see obvious things that everyone else sees, grudges have the capacity to atrophy the understanding, the reasoning of people. They don't react in a logical way. They react just with their emotions at all times. And that is why they curse themselves. You see that in the story of the two sons, the prodigal son ended up well reconciled with his father, back to his father's house. Now, the older, his story ended badly. He started well, but finished badly. Why? Because of grudges. This is a lesson for all of us, to revisit our heart and to be very truthful and sincere with ourselves, because at times we hold a grudge and we don't notice, as this grudge from the older brother only came up when the brother came back home. But it was always there. The expectation was in him. That sensation of not being appreciated, that resentment towards the father was there. And what the brother of the prodigal son did was way worse than what the prodigal son had done. What the prodigal son did was reacting by impulse, because he was a youth. But the older brother, supposedly more mature, at least he should have been, he held a grudge. And grudges are not an impulse. You must be fed. And he kept feeding that grudge. And there was no information that he changed, unfortunately. So take a good care of your heart and life. Because if you are allowing grudges to enter your life, you're bringing a curse to you. If you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven by God. If you're not forgiven by God, there's no salvation for you. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.